Hey folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another daily Death and Taxes. We're playing with Michael Braverman's Yorion and Taxes deck list that I did the deck tech for today for you all. Here's a quick look at it as a refresher. And let's hop on into the match here and see how it looks. We will reveal good old Yorion. We have lost the dice roll. And we are playing a Yorion mirror, in which case our hand probably sucks. Assuming that we're playing against some sort of control deck, our Swords to Plowshares is kind of deadish early on. Stoneforge probably isn't enough to win a game on its own anymore. The mana denial elements are pretty bad against Astrolabe piles. I think I'm going to ship this and look for something else. If my opponent didn't reveal Yorion, I would have kept this hand. I like this hand much, much, much better. Hey dude, good luck. You too. Actually, is that on screen for you all now? I did some adjustments. No, that's still hiding behind the camera. I'm going to go ahead and ban the Swords to Plowshares here. So the reason I bin the Swords to Plowshares is that I'm A-okay with my creatures dying. Ooh, it is a Yorion lands deck. I have no idea how our hand is going to stack up against this. Alright, so I guess at this point, presumably, bug lands. We could die as soon as immediately. I don't think I get the luxury of just going Caracas Pass to play around crop rotation, you're dead. I can do so, but I do not think that I can afford to hold up this Caracas for the rest of the game. There's so many things that are just going to beat me holding up this Caracas that I think I need to play out a threat here. It is very possible, and I would even say likely, that I lose this game immediately for making this play, but I do not regret it at all. Yep. So, for example, all they would need to beat me holding up the Caracas is a Wasteland, a Dark Depths, and anything of that general nature, and I am dead. That's okay. I totally accept that death. Just taking a few more draws to talk about how this game would have played out. I just would have went Caracas Pass, then the following turn I would have went Mom Pass, and then, what would that have been? On turn 5, I can actually make a 2-drop play while still holding up, or a 3-drop play while holding up Caracas. Yeah, I think there's just going to be way too many things that beat us, and we start running into having to worry about Okos and all sorts of other things. Just all in all, not good for me. All right, we're going to have a pile of things that I can consider playing here. And I really need to think about what I want to board out first. And then figure out board-ins afterwards. We have Graveyard Hate to think about for Life from the Loam and Uro, and we also have Okos to be thinking about. So, I like our 1-drop removal spells quite a bit. Revokers are fine, Tomics are good, Thalias are whatever, Cleric's okay, Stoneforge is weak-ish. It might be easiest to just cut the Stoneforge Mystic package entirely. It gives up my ability to go over 20 life to survive a hit, but it would leave me with a higher density of threats while still being able to board in most of these. So if we start with remove Stoneforge package and remove Walking Ballista, then I can either not bring in 2 of these, like, say, not bring in the Relic Order as a tutor target, and then maybe board out one more card and end up with 80. While Mirroring Crusader is bad against the Punishing Fire builds, it's good against like a pile that's more reliant on things like Abrupt Decay and Oko. We'll probably keep this. Prelate is like maybe whatever. Might be okay to have as a tutor target to like put on 3 for Oko reasons or 1 for Drop of Honey. I think a Sanctum Prelate or a Thalia can pretty easily go here. I'm gonna drop the Sanctum Prelate just because I'm not super confident about putting it on any specific number. I guess. Obviously not super excited about this. If our opponent happens to play something like a Null Rod or a Collector Oof, life is real bad for me. A Wasteland is also relatively devastating, and we're on a non-basic land starter. But we have some graveyard hate, some removal. Caracas like definitely has text in this matchup. The card's so good. So good my opponent also has it. Interesting. There's a lot of free win potential here, but given the amount of interaction that I have, I think I'm just gonna try to play a very defensive game where I hold up a lot of different answers this game and force my opponent to deal with all my stuff. Like if I can sit back on Double Swords, Caracas, Wasteland, Surgical, and just dump in threats off file, I will feel very comfortable about the game in the long term. That fits the category of something like a Null Rod, all right. All right, at least our opponent has nothing. That is the good news. The bad news is that I also basically have nothing. I have so much nothing that, like, it's time to attack with moms. We will not be going for Wasteland on non-vital lands here. That's super annoying. So I guess if I want to get rid of that, I need to wasteland this Caracas while that's on the stack. And then I can source the Plowshares it afterwards. It gives my opponent a new card, though, which I dislike. But I think I'm going to need to get rid of this long term. I have a bunch of small creatures that are going to want to get through. I'm okay with likely changing my Leovold into a land for my opponent. Their Yorion has no good blink targets, so I don't care about wastelanding them off of potentially mana 5 there. If they play it, I deal with it with Caracas or Source to Plowshares. I am good with things as they stand now. This is going to be a slow game. I still don't think I just try to gimp them on mana. We will take my slow chip damage. Do not care if Mom gets Abrupt Decayed at this stage of the game. My Aether Vials also would have sucked if they stuck around. So my opponent got the 2-for-1 with Force of Vigor, but that is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and Swords to Plowshares this now. I could wait to see if my next draw is Caracas, but if my next draw is a white creature, I would really like to play it. Thoughts on 80 cards D&T so far? Terrible. Oh great, another Mum. Yep, I'm dead. That's nice. I'm not exactly sure what it gets. Let's figure that out, shall we? I'm gonna get to blink it with Yorion when I get another land. I probably want to be thinking about having a flying blocker for Flicker Wisp reasons. I also want to be thinking about beating an Oko when / if my opponent gets one. I think Flicker Wisp probably gives me the greatest degree of flexibility. And it's possible I should not attack with any Mother of Runes here due to fringe scenarios like Double Draw, Abrupt Decay off the top of the library, but I think I'm shipping in. I've had no ability to play pressure in the early game. We didn't draw any aggressive elements at all. Like it's turn 8, and I don't have a creature larger than a 1/1 on board. Astrolabe is kind of interesting. Like, I'm not surprised to see it. But definitely a bit of a departure from a more traditional lands build for sure. Okay. Baleful Strix was definitely something that I did not foresee. I didn't think my opponent would go that deep in terms of Blink synergy. But like apparently with like Astrolabe and Strix, they definitely did. Eh. Alright, so I probably now just lost the game to the Oko that they have resolved. I got Flicker Wisp to hedge most generally against what was going to happen. It's really unfortunate now that they have like double blinkers and that I've also missed my land. Like I can play Recruiter, or I can play Flicker Wisp on Recruiter, get a Revoker, Oko next turn, but my opponent will then have 2 3/3s and a 1/1 Death Toucher and be way, way ahead of me. Yeah, we're dead. My opponent has resolved one card that is just going to invalidate my entire deck. Yeah, and I can't even take a free pot shot at Oko easily without really letting down the shields. This is the stage where we would really love if our vials were alive, so that I could have dumped in 1 or 2 of these creatures on the same turn cycle. I'm not having very much fun with current Legacy, because so many of the games are just like this, where one card resolves and it's just unbeatable from the other side of the table, and the games end up being extremely non-interactive accordingly. This is just probably going to be a Wasteland, my Wasteland, then Dark Depths, Merit Lodge me. I have that locked down in the short term, and then I can like extract a stage or depth so it doesn't happen again. But then there's this whole Oko problem otherwise. I could have wastelanded, or I could have surgical wasteland in response to this, but if my opponent has, oh, okay, they just have Field of the Dead. That's another entirely different problem. Oh, okay, cool. So it's 6 different land types. There's the 7th. Zombies start to occur. Yeah, there's no way I'm winning this game at this point. Like, the ground is stalled, the air is stalled. My opponent has the best card that exists to beat my deck, at least of the ones that are main deckable. I'll soldier on for a couple more turns, but like we're done. I have to hold up this wasteland for the rest of the game, or I get merit lodged. Two of my mana is spoken for in dealing with the Oko. All right, so we start by casting this Revoker. That's going to be step 1 here. I cannot let this have more activations. Playing this is sort of interesting because I could like juke my opponent and name Mox Diamond here and then do some interesting things with that stuff. But that card is too important. And now I think I'm just holding back. I don't really think I get to be the aggressor. I attack in with this and give pro black. Merit Lodge can't jump in front of the bus, and maybe I can try to aggro my way out of this. But like, there's this food token that represents 3 life, so effectively my opponent's at 11. I would need 4 Flicker Wisp hits in order to do that. And if I put the shields down here, I'm going to take a decent amount of retribution damage. And I also block Merit Lodge stalling in case something goes wrong. I don't know that I can start turning the corner yet. That said, I might have to try so that I don't die. The thing is that if I try, it really turns on Abrupt Decay as something that is good and can beat me. Whereas right now, Abrupt Decay doesn't do a lot. Let's try. I'm hoping my opponent does something with their mana at end of turn. And of course they didn't. I might wasteland their Field of the Dead in the draw step. I'm at least going to think about that. Like, 2 more lands can calm down, create 2 more zombies. But if I wasteland the Field of the Dead, that can incentivize them to like copy it with Thespian Stage. And if I use these wastelands, then I have no potential of getting in there with Yorion. And Yorion blinking Flicker Wisp and Recruiter is potentially a good play if I don't die to this. And I'm leery of like tapping out for Yorion because, whew, well, that is mighty interesting. I'm gonna let it go. Let's see where this goes. My opponent is representing that they can beat me. Ow. I guess they're not dead on board due to this. They can get another turn. It's a shame I can't name food and force that. There are Ice Fang Coatls in there too? Really? There are. That's interesting. How many snow permanents do you have over there? None? You have no snow permanents. This is awkward. Well, sorry, you have one snow permanent. No, that's also a snow permanent, but you don't have like the basic lines to support this. That represents something like a maze of Ith that I'm going to have to take care of. This is gonna get weird. The Blast Zones plan to sweep my mom's. And they have the mana up to do it. They can also copy it. Not great for me. So I probably need to force this damage through and leave myself very vulnerable to a crackback. Yes. Oh, interesting. The Thespian stage is now tapped. That gives me a unique opportunity. So Blast Zone costs 3 to sacrifice. And my opponent can't sacrifice it now. They could plan on bumping it up to 2, in which case they kill my Revoker. So this spot's pretty interesting. It may be that I'm supposed to surgical extraction here to try to get the greatest degree of information that I can from my opponent, because something like a crop rotation can really mess with me here. So I'm going to cast surgical extraction for information and then plot out my turn. I have abrupt decay to worry about. All right, so doesn't work the way. I have no tricks to worry about. I can safely wasteland this blast zone now. I can safely wasteland like Depths, Field of the Dead, Thespian stage now. My opponent is going to get to remove this Revoker, which probably means I need to play another. So I can, there's not an Urborg out, right? Yeah, there's not an Urborg out. So step one is let's wasteland this blast zone. Step two is let's play a redundant Phyrexian Revoker on Oko. Next turn, even if my Flicker Wisp gets decayed, I can give protection from black and from green, and that gets me through the board. So now I can also Wasteland Depths or Stage. My opponent doesn't have either in hand. They can get a couple of looks at them, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and Wasteland a Thespian Stage now. My opponent has a lot of big draws that are super spooky, though. All right. Let's spend a little bit of time looking at my opponent's deck list now. So there's Strix, Coatl, Life from the Loams, Primeval Titans, Okos, Uros, Libraries. We already have Graveyard Hate. I don't know that I want to go Containment Priest levels of deep. But walking Ballista to ping off X1s, I think becomes slightly more appealing. My opponent has 3 copies of Sylvan Library, in which case Relic Warder becomes a little bit better than normal. And I think I'm not super impressed with Thalia. Like, my opponent has Caracas as a tutor target, and Thalia gets stonewalled by Elks pretty easily, and like it loses impact on the draw. Let's bring the Prelate back in to put on 2. Like, my opponent has Assassin's Trophy in addition to just the usual nonsense. So I think I'm okay with that going on 2, even though it like gets in the way of my Rest in Peace. Let's do that over yet another Thalia. I'm good with this hand. I think Aether Vial is powerful. As a side note, this deck ran so many snow-covered plains that I had... Must be nice to always have those in the 80-card deck. This deck runs so many snow basics that I had to borrow a bunch, so I have like non-matching snow basics because I forgot to adjust art. Start by playing the better snow basic. Keep that one in play for longer. Alright, so much for the plan of Rishadan porting our opponent. Looks like we're going to have a much slower game. Which I'm not sure who that is going to favor. Me? I get Force of Vigored. It's pretty devastating. I do not believe that I want to tap out for Recruiter in order to put a 2-drop into play this turn. I'm going to slow my roll with that and just leave up more mana. I don't care if I get Wastelanded. I'm okay with making that exchange so that I can port my opponent if my land does make it to their turn. And indeed it does. Port sucks against Astrolabe. Let the record show. This at least takes my opponent off of hardcast Force of Vigor. So like it technically does something. Alright, cool. Now we have to leave up a white mana forever. This is technically one of those times where I should probably tap the Vial on 2 first for good practice, but I'm not super worried about it. Alright, I am just going to pass the turn here. At instant speed, I can Recruiter of the Guard for Remorseful Cleric if I need to. I have a lot of flexibility in what I do and how I do it. And I'm not going to take a Mom attack. So my opponent, I believe, does not have access to Sajiri Step, or at least they did not last game. They could this game. Opponent has plenty of basics to fetch. They have enough basics so that they could cast an Uro off of basics alone. Ooh, it's just going to copy a forest here. I'm good with that. I also really should not pause to think or talk about things at this point. There's like 8 minutes left on my clock, but there's a very real chance that this game drags on for a long time. I believe it is time to start recruiter chains. We're going to say, I didn't say always no to both of those, but okay. I'm relatively protected from Merit Lodge at this stage. I think I'm okay with tapping some mana to play a creature accordingly. There's some degree of risk involved here. But I think that between like Wisp, Recruiter, Mom, and 3 single target removal spells, I'm okay doing this. Okay. I'm a little confused about the lines that my opponent is taking. I kind of think that they have like Tabernacle in hand or something. So I'm not just going to like pop Wasteland on Field of the Dead here. Alright, I can remove that, and I can remove Merit Lodge afterwards. It's just awkward, because my Wasteland probably gets Wastelanded in response to this, and then a Tabernacle is in play. I don't know, they could just get 2 combo pieces. A Blast Zone. Blast Zone's pretty good. Alright, so since Tabernacle didn't happen yet, it's probably time to nuke a Field of the Dead. Forget. Yeah, okay, those do still check. That's unfortunate. I could get a Jailer. No, Jailer's not good here. Probably just another Wisp Sanctum Prelate to put on 2 is also tempting at this point. Marin Crusader is tempting for pro-black. Just another Wisp for more value is fine. Like, I can Wisp into Remorseful Cleric, have a shit ton of flying power. Yeah. I think I'm good with that. Senka is an okay draw. I guess I should Swords to Plowshares that rather than... that's actually kind of weird. I will Path to Exile it. Yeah, Flicker Wisp can send on in there. Now we're going to activate this. Yes. Flicker Wisp the Recruiter. Go to the end step. Yes. And just take a 2-drop that I can dump into play off the vial. Revoker and Remorseful Cleric do different things. I'm going to go with Remorseful Cleric in hopes of closing out this game. I have a 2-turn clock in the air while not being dead in 2 turns to my opponent's zombies. That seems like a good place to be. Oko gets really awkward if my opponent has it. But I get to play around one of Graveyard Hate or Oko with the lines that I took, not both. I could have Flicker Wisp to get Recruiter back end of turn, but then that gets more awkward with the placement of my Vial timing. Okay. Yeah, please don't Tabernacle me now. That is a Tabernacle, all right. Life's bad. Things are weird with the Hallowed Spirit Keeper now, especially. Probably going to convert Mom into a land. Opponent can stop that with Blast Zone. But if the Blast Zone ticks up and kills things that are already going to be somewhat dicey, I'm okay with that. I think I'm just going to go for attack power in air and not play around creation of a Merit Lodge. This is awful with 2 minutes left on the clock. Yes. Recruiter. No. Flicker Wisp. Yes. Hallowed Spirit Keeper. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go always no to that. play out another creature, it is destined to die. I'm not going to play it out. This is equally awful for my opponent. I have 5 in the air. I can make it 6 in the air by chump blocking. If I block 5 of these, I take 10 damage. I can also just throw away Sanctum Prelate here for some additional life. I will do so. I don't have time to sit here and think about the math that I need to think about for this situation, unfortunately. But I believe that this is going to let me stay alive on a 2-turn clock. It takes too much time to do. So my opponent needs something to answer one of my creatures. Or I've got this. I'm just going to F6 their turn. I should not do this because I have a Remorseful Cleric. And I'll try to stop myself if it looks like they play something graveyard-oriented. But if it takes me 15 seconds to off my clock to like attack and such, it's problematic for me in terms of timing out if I play around everything that they can do. All right, I path to exile Yorion, get it out of the way, and then crash in for exactly lethal. Great. That works too. GG's, opponent. GG's. Crazy close there. I feel like I was kind of on the wrong side of the equation the entire match and just like barely managed to squeak these wins out. Yeah, opponent is just saying how like crazy tight those games were. Really high level play, like very happy with this match, even though like it dragged on for a very, very long time. Like we folded to an Oko pretty much instantly once. But this game was like very, very interesting. Hope you all enjoyed it if you made it to the end of the video here, and I'll be back for more daily D&T tomorrow.